March 1st, 2020. Joe here at Simple Life Show, where the simplest answers are usually the best. I've been sick for the last 3 days with the flu, not the coronavirus, and I still feel pretty bad right now. I'm pretty much at 60 to 70% efficiency, but I'm still kind of slow. I still kind of feel bad, but I did want to make a video today because there's a lot of things that are just really irritating me about this coronavirus. It's not so much that the coronavirus exists. It's the politicization of this entire thing and the fact that the president is calling it a hoax. Now, I don't believe that he thinks that the coronavirus itself is a hoax, but he is invoking a hoax-like mentality, a conspiracy tinfoil hat mentality amongst his supporters. And I happen to be one of them, so I'm offended because I am not a conspiracy nut. I look at all of the evidence, and there's certain things that I do believe that some people might call a conspiracy. However, I think it's based on research and research alone that we can find truth. And it's through logic, and it's through how we disseminate information. But there's a lot of people out there that are going around saying this is a big conspiracy to get rid of Trump. This is complete nonsense. This is flat earth kind of scenario, flat earth territory for the conspiracy nuts out there and the tinfoil hat wearers. If you're one of them, please just stop. This is not a conspiracy to get rid of Trump. This is not something to get all upset about. This is a virus that will run its course. Now, where this came from, that can be up for debate. Some can say that it was made in a bioweapons lab in Wuhan. Some can say that it came from bat soup. And some people can say that it came from some other animal, from animal to human transition. I don't really know. There's a lot of studies that have been published that it came from a completely different animal as well. Harvard recently came out with a study that this could be this is obviously a pandemic now because it's reached all continents. And some are saying, especially in the Harvard study, that it could reach 40 to 70% infection rate within the year worldwide. So that is billions of people. And if the death rate stays steady at around 2.5 to 3%, we're talking about 30 to 300, at least 30 million deaths. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just doing the math. And if that actually happens and the mortality rate stays the same and we don't get a vaccine, then that could happen. Now, I do think there's a good chance there could be a vaccine before it does reach those rates. I know these are just types of projections and stuff, and usually projections don't turn out to be reality. We know that. They're just models. But at the same time, we can't be on one end of the spectrum or the other. We have to stay in the middle. We have to look at both sides to understand where the truth really lies. We cannot stay in the closet on this either. But we can't run around with our heads, with our hair on fire at the same on the same token that think we're all going to die. Okay? And those are the people that are making fun of the other people there. And then the truth gets lost in the middle. That's what happens when all of these things happen. When anything happens these days, it's politicized. It's completely politicized, and everything is just blown out of proportion, and everyone goes to their respective corners, and they all just parrot back some sort of narrative and talking points and all that other stuff, and then no one is able to even talk about it anymore. That's it. It just seems like that is like the MO with everything now. So it's highly irritating. That's why I wanted to do a video today, because that's all I've been seeing over the last few days. Is that this whole conspiracy theory type stuff. Trump was actually in South Carolina, and he's been, he started talking about how it was a Democrat hoax. I think that is very, very irresponsible for him to say that. I'm a Trump supporter, but I think it's irresponsible for him to say that, because if it does turn into a total epidemic here in the United States, there's only one death, but if we reach into the thousands of deaths, that is going to come back and bite him terribly. I hope that doesn't happen, but there is a possibility that it could happen. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know. We don't have a vaccine yet. We could still be a month or more, maybe 2 or 3 months away from a viable vaccine. People think that you can just churn out these vaccines from a lab from really smart people, and that's just simply not the way it works. It takes time to test these things. They have to go through alpha, beta, Charlie testing and all this other kind of stuff before you actually have a viable candidate for a vaccine. Because you can't just keep pumping people veins full of stuff that you don't know what it's going to do to them, because then you could have unintended consequences. So we have to make sure that we're taking all the necessary precautions. If you see someone that's coughing, stay away from them. If you haven't washed your hand in a while, wash your hands. Try not to touch things as much. Try to stay away from people as much as possible. I'm not saying you have to be antisocial, but if someone is, exhibiting, some sort of cold-like symptoms, it would probably be best just to stay away from them. But the problem with coronavirus is that people are going to walk around for weeks, if not an entire month, with these types of symptoms, and we simply don't know. The mortality rate, I'm pretty sure, is even higher than what we've been told. Please understand that they're saying it's 2%. Some are even saying it's like 1%. I don't believe that. But it really has to do with closed cases. We have people going to the hospital, and what happens in the hospital is that either someone gets better or they don't. They either walk out of the hospital or they get rolled out of the hospital in a hearse. That's how things normally end. So those are resolved cases. Either someone is okay and they walk out of a hospital, or they're rolled out of a hospital, they're dead. Those are the actual numbers. Right now it's sitting at 7%. 7% of the people that walk in the hospital end up dead. That is a fact. We don't know if that number is going to change or not. Hopefully it goes down. But I am not a doom and gloom person. I'm not trying to make anyone upset about this whole thing. I think that there is a good chance that we will come up with a good vaccine and it will go away and we'll be able to control it. There is a good chance that will happen. We are living in 2020. We have a lot of good medical advances. But I'm not saying it's outside of the possibility that because of how readily this is spread and the incubation period of this entire virus is spread, that it couldn't turn into something far worse. So we need to stay in the middle somewhat. We cannot be freaking out about this with our hair on fire, but at the same time, we can't be Kool-Aid drinkers over here saying there's absolutely no virus and this was all a conspiracy to take down Trump. Those people sound completely insane. And when I hear those people say that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, is this really what Trump supporters really think? Are they all on board with this tinfoil hat wearing garbage? And if they are, can I vote for Trump again? Because this is what's happening. You have a complete division between what is rational and what's completely in the realm of conspiracy theory now. We can't discern what's truth anymore because everything's fake news, right? Everything's fake news now. If you don't agree with it, if you think that it's just if it's something that doesn't fit with your narrative, then obviously it's fake news. That's the world we live in. I'm not sitting over here trying to cheerlead for any side. And it seems like, and I get a lot of flack for this, and people might not like me for this, but the problem is that we have two different sides, and neither one of them knows what the truth is because they're so inundated and so drunk on their own Kool-Aid that we can't even do any simple research anymore on either side to try to understand what's really going on and try to take on these certain types of things in a rational manner. Or even if you're just on the sidelines and you're looking at this stuff, should I be freaking out about this, or should I just not worry about it at all? Or should it be somewhere in the middle? Should I be stocking up on some supplies just in case? Should I make sure that I follow some simple precautions? I mean, do the bare minimum. Don't subscribe to a lot of this tinfoil hat wearing nonsense. This isn't a whole big conspiracy to get rid of Trump. And if you seriously believe that, then I really feel bad for you. I really do. Not everything is some sort of BS conspiracy to get rid of the Messiah Trump. Everyone thought that Obama was the Messiah too. We need to stop this. We need to stop putting our leaders in some sort of group of Messiah, that everyone is out to get them. Everyone is about to hoist them up on a cross, and it's our job to stop it. We have to be good shepherds of the truth. I still support Trump. But if Trump says something stupid, I'm going to say that's stupid. If Trump does something dumb, I'm going to say that's dumb. And if you think I'm dumb for saying that, then you need to reevaluate what you truly think about reality, because that's not a good way of looking at it. Because then, you know what I mean? That's all I'm going to say about this whole coronavirus thing. You know, every single country is trying to do the best they can to try to get this under control. South Korea, with all their technology, they're losing the war right now. It's spreading like wildfire. Hopefully we can get a good a good vaccine, and we can kind of put this whole thing to bed. I don't want to see it spread. Who would want to see that? I want to get onto some other news. Ukraine investigations are opening up into Joe Biden's role in firing a top prosecutor. Again, this was from February 29th. I know that was yesterday. This is yesterday's news. Something that I was kind of reading about. This isn't really anything to either worry about or even really look into too much. This is something that the court passed down because it's a requirement that they look into this. This isn't something that they're just saying, yeah, we really need to look into this. I think this is a court mandate. So I really think that nothing is going to actually happen to this. At least I don't believe it's actually going to affect Joe Biden's candidacy in the nomination, which I don't think that he'll. I really don't think he'll get, because once Super Tuesday rolls around, I think that Bernie Sanders is going to take a wealth of delegates during Super Tuesday. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is back in the news. This was back in 2018. Now she had a tweet here talking about scientific research and climate change and so forth. I don't even have that tweet up, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. I think my wife got rid of it. But this was actually one of the things that she was referring to based on her experience with talking about climate change. This was back in 2018. AOC won a prestigious science fair prize for research involving free radicals. Now, this whole thing was about different things involved in the let me see. I don't even know if I can pronounce that. Sorna habititis elegans. I believe it's a type of might be an earthworm or something like that. I don't really know. Yeah, this was actually the tweet here that she put out here. Funny enough, one of the compounds I tested yielded unusually promising results for cellular health and lifespan extension for that organism. When I tried to find out why the compound wasn't pursued more, one of the explanations given to me was that plasma lobbyists worked against it. Whatever. The point here is that this was back in high school. It was a science fair project. What was actually more interesting here is that this whole thing was studied a year prior to that. So this was identification and analysis of compounds that delay aging, extended lifespan as an important aspect of this type of research. These studies test theories of aging and also goes into different types of I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's different types of antioxidant activities. That's right. With these types of organisms. So she was studying this kind of stuff and supposedly and won a prize over it. But with just a little research, this was actually studied about a year prior to her so-called prize. Also in the news there, Greece is under siege. Turkey has basically opened up their borders, and they have just allowed people to just walk across and go into Greece. Greece is not having any of it. They have closed their borders, saying that they're not going to be taking any migrants. And of course, this has caused a lot of problems, as we can see here. So they were flinging a lot of stuff over the Greece border there. Greece is not having any of it. They don't want any of the migrants over there because there is just simply. I mean, here's another video here. It's very short, but if you can tell that these aren't women and children. These aren't poor women and children. These are men, 18 to 30 years old that are invading the Greece border. Yeah, so I'll play that again. Well, maybe I won't. But yeah, you can actually see there in that video. Let me see if I can actually play it again. But yeah, you can see most of the people in that group there. They're the vast majority of them are males between the ages of 18 to 30, from what I can see. Now there might be a few sparse women here and there, but yeah, it's just primarily men. Obviously, we have here Pence bolster coronavirus team following criticism. So this is originally when Pence was actually made the coronavirus czar. He had just a few people on his team which were part of the financial sector. Trump is only worried about the stock market. This is obvious. This is one of the things that I've criticized Trump over, because he has been tying everything to this stock market and how big the stock market can grow and how wonderful and how big it is and all that other kind of stuff. We really need to understand that the stock market is cyclical, that it goes through 7-year cycles, and that we are overdue for a collapse. It is going to eventually happen no matter what we do, no matter how much quantitative easing or how much tweaking that the Fed does with the economy. We have simply reached a type of level here in this economy that we need to go through a correction. And the more that we put it off, the harder it's going to be. It seems a lot of people just don't understand that. They think that whenever you say these types of things, that you're either anti-Trump or you're just a complete lunatic. I don't understand it really, and I just don't want to understand it anymore, because there's some people that you just simply can't reach. There's certain logic that some people just simply can't understand because they are drunk on this Kool-Aid. Let me see. So this actually goes into the Trump calls coronavirus criticism, Democrats' new hoax, and links it to immigration and all this other kind of stuff. We see this with a collapsing society a lot, where there's a lot of fear of the outsiders, and nationalism and populism gains momentum. It gains a lot of popularity. I am not saying that I'm anti-Trump or anything like that. I think that he is a fine president, and I hope he wins again. But at the same time, we really have to be a little bit more critical of our leaders. We have to stop being such cheerleaders all the time. It seems like we just simply can't see certain things for what they are, and the more that becomes a type of status quo, that we just can't simply see truth for what it is anymore, then that's when those leaders think that they can get away with that much more than they thought they could. So this was the CPAC was actually happening over this weekend as well. This is a story here from the Post Millennial, where an Antifa activist actually got granted access into the CPAC, and was also responsible for having Gavin McInnes removed. This is really important because if you know who Gavin McInnes is, he used to have his own radio show. It was kind of, I guess it was a podcast or video podcast called Get Off My Lawn, and he's also the founder of the Proud Boys. So he got a lot of flack about being the founder of the Proud Boys and also being called a white supremacist or white nationalist and stuff. And he kind of disappeared from the media. I mean, he's still out there, and he might even have a part with Blaze TV. I'm not exactly sure. but also Owen Schroer, who was still part of InfoWars and the Alex Jones tribe over there, who was also banned from every single social media. They were, they were told that they could not enter CPAC. So the real question here is: are conservative actually? Are they turning into? Are they turning into the new left? Right? Are they just saying that people have to be silenced now? They can't have their own voices when it comes to the conservative movement, because I mean the conservative movement is a spectrum just like any other movement or any type of political ideology. There's different spectrums to it. So are we saying that people who have slightly different views from us, that we're just going to shut them off and cancel them and we'll take away their First Amendment rights and all this other kind of stuff? I don't know. We are seeing a lot of that happening on both sides. This was kind of interesting here. Garth Brooks was honoring the football player Barry Sanders, who obviously used to play for the Detroit Lions. Awesome player, and many confused it with a Bernie Sanders endorsement because obviously Sanders' number was 20, and when people saw the Sanders inscription there on the back of the jersey and saw 20, they were like, oh, well, obviously Garth Brooks is a Bernie Sanders fan. This is just ridiculous. This is how politicized everything has become. I wouldn't even care if Garth Brooks was a Bernie Sanders fan. He can support whoever the hell he wants to support. He is a free, autonomous person. And obviously there's a lot of people out there saying that, well, I'm never going to listen to another Garth Brooks song. I'm never going to buy another CD, or I'm never going to, not CDs, I'm never going to buy another MP3 or anything like that. I'm never going to attend another one of your concerts. There's a lot of people that said that. And I checked out his Instagram. This is his Instagram here. And a lot of the responses were just deleted. This was from 6 days ago, Garth Brooks. And then you see with 14 hours, right? So the majority of the responses were probably so vile that they had to be deleted. That's where we are as a country right now, where, a country singer who is supporting a football player with the last name Sanders and the number of 20. And please understand that this person down here says this would be Bernie Sanders' jersey. It would be a 46. This is true. It would be 46, just like Trump 45. So people are not understanding this, and they're politicizing literally everything. It doesn't matter. If this doesn't concern you as a human being, then I don't really know what to say, because everything is just becoming too politicized now. And people are going off the rails over the smallest thing, over someone just supporting the candidate they don't support. That's where we are as a country right now, everyone. And if you think it's going to get any better, just wait until Sanders gets denied the nomination. You think that there's division now? Just wait. Either Sanders gets denied the nomination and there is and just all hell will break loose, or he does get the nomination and the division becomes even more pronounced. That is what we have to look forward to. That is my prognostication for you. I was going to talk about a story here about the limits to growth. There was a book that came out in the 70s called Limits to Growth. And I don't know if you know anything about it, but it came out in 1972, and it was talking about how the economy and the population and our limited resources can only go so far. Now, there's been a lot of people that are saying that, well, we were supposed to die back in 2000. Oh, we were supposed to die in 2012. I'm sure everyone has heard this, but please understand that these are just models. They're always just models. They are predictions about the future if certain things happen. But because of this 1972 book, Limits to Growth, it was actually using a supercomputer at that time called World 3 that made a lot of predictions about the future. And one of them was a business as usual. If nothing else changed, then this was probably going to happen. So the decades that followed the Limits to Growth, when it came out, there was a lot of people that were saying that it was just total garbage, and it was basically thrown into the dustbin of the bookstore, in the dustbin of history, because people thought it was just complete nonsense, and it had no logic or anything involved, and a lot of people made a lot of money basically destroying it. But however, back in 2014, that was only 6 years ago, that Limits to Growth was vindicated as of, through a lot of different research that was going through this business as usual scenario that it predicted. So this is what the books look like. Of course, this was back in 1972. So the environment, economy, and population, this was a lot of the predictions that was made, if you can see here, on what was going to happen over the next 100 or so years. And right now, it's been pretty much well vindicated that we are heading in the same direction that it is proposing. Now, this doesn't mean that it's going to continue in that way. It just means that it's been pretty close to what it predicted back in 1972. So when people make predictions about certain things, and when they don't happen on that certain date or something like that, people have a tendency of saying, well, that's all BS, and there's absolutely there's no truth to it at all. And we dismiss it as pure heresy. And that's a mistake. We have to understand that this world has limited resources, and we cannot keep continuously growing beyond that, of which that we can actually mine the certain resources of the earth, even if we are very efficient with that, especially with not only our techniques of taking resources from the earth, but also putting different types of products together. Even if we are at 90% efficiency, certain things are going to eventually happen if we keep taking resources from the earth. This is just a fact. People make fun of Greta Thunberg and stuff like that, but this is stuff that she was talking about as well. Now, she probably wasn't as eloquent as some people are when it comes to actually talking about these types of things. But the fact of the matter is that this is kind of what she was talking about, that we can't continue this endless growth, because the endless growth will always end up the same way. We will end up growing ourselves into a collapse. And that's what happens with pretty much everything. It doesn't matter. We have to find ways of being self-sustainable. We have to find ways of making products that last a long, long time. The reason is we get stuff from different, especially stuff that's made in China that only lasts like a month or more or less. Things have planned obsolescence. We're used to it, right? Things break and we just buy another one. We throw it in the garbage. We buy another one. We don't think about the future as much. We don't think as far out as our own grandchildren. And after that, it's just their problem, right? We kick the can down the street, and that's just what we do. And this is like the similar problem, and I'm kind of tying it back into the whole coronavirus thing. We're not thinking about the whole pandemic type of thing because we're only thinking about the short term. Like, hey, what is this affecting right now? It's affecting the stock market, so we have to bury this right now. We have to make sure that everyone knows that there's nothing worse than the flu, and just forget about it. We have to make sure that we continue our growth cycle, because if this whole thing stops, even for a moment, then everything starts crashing. There's a problem with that type of system where you can't even slow it down. You can't slow it down. It has to keep going faster and faster until we mine too many resources out of our earth, and we just kind of mine. We kind of produce ourselves into a corner. But I'm going to leave it there. Leave your notes, your comments, and so forth in the comment section. I'll try to respond to you if I have the time, if I feel like it. I'm still kind of sick, but I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.